Hello, this is Angela Anderson. Thanks for joining me for this acrylic painting tutorial. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to paint a moonlight tree landscape. I don't know what to call this exactly, but I'm calling it moonlight trees. And I'll be showing you step by step how to do it from start to finish. I've got my husband, Mark, with me.
Hey there, everybody.
He's man in chat for the live show, so if you've got questions, you can ask those, and I'll try to answer them while I'm painting it. Let's get started. All right. Oh, I forgot to print out my reference. Why don't you go ahead and pop the reference up there, hon? Okay. I've got a 6x6 inch canvas, but you can really do this on any size you want. It's a square image, so I just used a square canvas. But if you wanted to do it wider, you could probably just add some trees off to the sides or bushes or something like that. Let me go over my brushes really quick. I've got a number 8 bright just for some of the background, filling in some of the basic shapes. We'll use probably a 3/8 inch and a 1/4 inch angle shader. These are the VelvetTouch lines from Princeton. This one was their 6100 series, number 8 bright. And then these two, the number 4 round and a couple of their Willow's blenders. This is the 1/4 inch and 3/8 inch of the Willow's blender. It's like a stiff bristled foliage brush that's sort of like a filbert shape. And then I've also going to use my 3/8 inch Deerfoot Stippler. So if you don't have the specialty brushes, you can just use a stiff bristled brush. Just whatever you would normally use for foliage will work here. Let me go over my paints really quick. I've got Unbleached Titanium, Titanium White, Quinacridone Magenta, Yellow, Cadmium Yellow Light, Yellow Oxide, Phthalo Green Yellow Shade, Phthalo Blue Green Shade, Ultramarine Blue, Burnt Sienna, and Burnt Umber. If you don't have all these colors, a lot of these can be mixed. The greens can be mixed with your yellow and one of the blues. Really, Phthalo Blue and this light Cadmium Yellow Light can mix pretty much all the other colors. You can get something close to ultramarine by mixing a little bit of quinacridone in with your Phthalo Blue. So, but we're just going to have those out there to give us a head start on this. And really, I'm not doing a whole lot of sketching to prep. I'm just kind of figuring out where the boundaries of my trees are by just kind of doing a big old circle right in the middle. And there's about an inch border or so off to the side here. And down at the bottom, about the same. So I'm just going to kind of do a general oval shape. The top portion is a little bit farther down, but there's some skies peeking up here. So I'm actually going to do the sky all the way up to about right here. And then we'll cut off this middle part is going to have a branch coming through the middle. And that's really all I'm going to do to prep to start with. I'm going to wet down my large flat. This is the number 8 bright. And let's start out with some Phthalo Blue. I'm going to make this kind of turquoisey color for the moon for the background here. I'm going to use some burnt sienna with it. And some titanium white. And if I want to make it a little bit more green, I'm going to grab a little bit of Phthalo green. That'll make it a little bit more turquoisey. A pretty color. That little touch of burnt sienna just takes it from being super turquoise to just a little bit more of a muted turquoise. Just kind of helps. All right, I think that's good.
Just an average Joe turquoise.
Right, we don't need super turquoise for this one.
So no capes.
No capes, exactly. Throw down that turquoise there. I'm going to add some white to my brush. Pick up a little bit of water. And go into the
I almost made the cube.
Wet paint there. You almost got it? That's all right.
I'll turn it off when you reach for it.
Thanks. Okay, a little bit more white. Off to the side here. And down toward the bottom here, there's some water, so I'm just going to kind of lightly work this paint in. And what I do is I put the wet paint, the fresh paint, off to the side and really kind of offload it onto my canvas. And then I can go back in and very gently pull it into the rest of the wet paint, and it will blend lightly. If you have too much paint on your brush, it will just add a bunch of paint to the middle area where you're trying to kind of add, blend. Instead of blending, it'll just kind of lay down more paint. So if you want to avoid that, just kind of lay your paint down in an area where, let me get some of that darker color, put it back in here where I want that color to be, and then pull it out into the area where I want it to spread. And this is kind of where my moon is going to be. There's like a little bit of dark area in the sky around it, and then there's kind of some soft blending out around it like that. And then at the horizon line there's some yellow, so I'm going to go ahead and grab some yellow and some of that white and go ahead and pull that into the sky down here. A little bit more white. There we go. And I'm going farther out than I'm going to need to. A lot of this is going to be cut off with our trees, so just kind of keep that in mind. Just going to keep on adding white, and down here it's really going to be almost pure white, so probably need to clean out my brush at this point so I get some clean, brighter color down there. Clean that out really well. Then blot it on my paper towel and pick up some bright white. Just a little bit of their yellow. And we're going to go down here. Add that right in here. And then I'm going to go side to side here because this is kind of where the water and the horizon line just kind of merge together. So there's really no start and stop there. You don't really see the line of the water where the reflection hits it, or the edge of the water. So I'm just going to kind of lightly go side to side here at the bottom, and we'll let that dry, and we'll add some more color down here. But I'm going to let it dry first. How you doing, hon?
I'm doing good.
Yeah.
Settling in.
Hanging in.
Even though it's not a long winter's night.
I've got some phthalo green now and some burnt umber. I'm going to do some really dark green around the edges of the canvas. All down in here. This area is really dark. And if you want to, you can do the sides of your canvas too while you're at it, but probably not going to do that tonight, just to save time. Pick up some water every now and then. One of the keys to painting with acrylics is to keep your brush hydrated. It needs water just like people do. It's running a marathon here, right? Gotta give it some water every now and then. Just dipping in a little bit. And that's kind of weird. That was cheesy. Sorry.
No, it's funny because just as you went to reach for it, I turned off the camera by.
Oh, did you?
The side camera, yeah. It wasn't on purpose, but it was funny.
Okay. So my tree branch is going to go right in here. I'm going to probably bring the water out just a little bit more over here. We'll see. I'm going to bring it up the side here. And don't be afraid of going really dark here. You could even probably go with black if you really wanted to be super dramatic about this, because our tree is very, very dark. In our dark areas, it's almost black. Just gonna kind of go around our edge here. A lot of this is going to either be branches or tree stubs. There's going to be a little bit of our foliage peeking through in some places, so this first layer does not have to be perfect. This is going to be mostly covered up. We're just going to see it sort of peeking through underneath. So just kind of laying some under color.
Okay, now which green is that?
This is Phthalo green, yellow shade, plus
Okay.
burnt umber
All right.
to make it even darker.
Ooh. For some reason we lost focus there for a second.
All right, there we go. Yeah, this is a fast little painting. I don't think it's going to take too long tonight. It's going to be fairly quick, fairly easy, hopefully.
I snacked on the leftover cheese and bacon biscuits.
Nice.
So I'm good for a little while.
You're good?
Yep.
Okay. Mark's makes some mean biscuits. That's all I'm saying. Keep him around for his biscuits for nothing else. Got many good qualities, but that's one of your best.
I try. Try to earn my keep around here.
Right. Oops. Okay. That is not dry yet. Just trying to think of what I can do on here. I don't want to put in my foliage too soon because I want to finish my sky first. This color is not quite what I wanted it to be, so I'm going to try mixing a little bit better turquoise. Let me go with phthalo blue, phthalo green, and some unbleached titanium. The unbleached titanium has just a little bit like of a yellow oxide base in with titanium white. So if you don't have it, you can just mix it yourself. Just a little bit more of a neutral, warm white. I'm going to put out some glazing liquid.
Glazing liquid. Huh? Now, do you have to shake that up or anything, or
No.
does it just? It's already.
No,
okay.
you don't want to shake it because it'll get air bubbles in it.
Good tip. I would have shooken it. You know me.
Yeah, Mark likes to shake my tea up. He gets me these really expensive loose leaf teas, and he's like, ch-ch-ch-ch. I'm like, no!
They sound so cool
You're
in the
breaking
tins.
them up.
I mean, they make a really cool shaky sound. And then I get that look. Like, what are you doing?
It's the look.
I'm like, oh no.
Like you just
I'm just making
you
sounds.
just took my really expensive tea to a Lipton level.
Yep.
Sorry, Lipton.
We like your tea too,
Yeah.
in case you're thinking of sponsoring.
Right.
Just saying.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to use some glazing liquid with this kind of brighter teal that I mixed up here. I'm just going to kind of start working this in around the sides here. Still a little bit dark. It's going to dry darker than you put it on. So if you put your color on and it looks too light, you probably got it about the right color. If it looks just a little bit too light and you're like, I don't know about that, then you probably are on the right track because it'll dry a little bit darker than what you've got on your canvas right at first. So just keep that in mind. Just going to kind of do another layer here, and I'm going to bring this out a little bit farther. Put out some of that brighter turquoise color. There we go. This is just that phthalo blue and phthalo green. It makes a really nice turquoise. It's pretty much equal parts. And then I've added just a little bit of unbleached titanium to soften the color a little bit. And the unbleached titanium in it, that yellow oxide base kind of neutralizes the color and makes it not quite as super bright, just like the burnt sienna did with this color that we mixed first. And really, if you get the color right the first time, you probably don't have to do this. So I'm just doing it because I kind of don't like this color that I first put on. I'm trying to make it a little bit prettier. Okay, there we go. It's a little bit better. Then let's figure out where we want our water to be. So our water's going to be down here. I think this is dry enough now. I've got a little bit of ultramarine blue. And our white, a little bit of ultramarine, a little bit of that phthalo blue. There we go. And I'm going to do some color down here. I'm going to get a little bit darker because it's fairly light, but it is kind of dark in some streaks. So put a little bit of that on there. I really don't have to go very far up with this. Clean that out. And then I'm going to grab a little bit of the Quinacridone Magenta. Add a little tiny bit of that. The Quinacridone is a very, very bright color, so I can add a little bit of this blue color. It'll kind of tone it down a little bit. I'm going to add a little bit of that in the water. And I'm just using the tip of my angle brush here and kind of drawing lines across. Grabbing some white, making a highlight color, and gonna go across the water with this. If you watched my Moonlight butterflies last week, this is kind of the same thing under smaller, much smaller scale here. This is all going to be covered up by tree. So
we got some color questions when you have a moment.
All right.
The first one, I'll admit I don't understand, so hopefully you do.
Okay.
Now I gotta find it.
I'm gonna grab a little bit of the yellow oxide here with the unbleached, or with the yellow, cad yellow light.
Okay, they wanted to know if yellow mixed would make a nice turquoise color.
Yeah, you can mix yellow with your phthalo blue and it'll make a nice turquoise. You can't really make it with ultramarine because ultramarine has too much purple in it, but you can make a nice turquoise just with phthalo blue and yellow. You can make phthalo green with phthalo blue and yellow, so you don't even have to have phthalo green.
Okay.
It can be mixed.
And then the next question is, can you just use deep turquoise?
Yes, you can. Yep, deep turquoise would work. You might just add a little bit of the, unbleached titanium like I did, just to kind of neutralize it, just a little touch, because it might be a little bit bright, but yes. And it would look lovely. I mean, even just as is, it would be fine. It doesn't have to be.
Right, so you're showing how you can use paints that you already have to get the different colors, so you don't have to buy a tube of every color in the world.
Right.
Save some cash.
Exactly. Yeah, just showing you kind of how to mix some of these colors yourself. All right, so I'm using this yellow, and I'm going right along that horizon line, and I'm using this angle brush, and I don't have a lot of paint on my brush. I'm just kind of lightly brushing over. If you find, as you're doing this, that your paint underneath here is feeling very sticky and maybe lifting off, or you'll see some like bare spots, then you know that this paint is starting to dry, and you really don't want to touch it at that point. You want to let it dry completely before you do anything else to it. So just be sensitive to that. Acrylics don't want to be messed with while they're drying. They will stick to your brush and peel right off your canvas if you do mess with them too much while they're drying. So this is kind of dry brushing, really. I'm just kind of lightly tapping in some color here. We could use we could have waited. I'm doing it wet like this because my background's still a little bit wet. If I waited for this background to dry completely, I could use my Deerfoot Stippler and do this. And I could still do it a little bit, but I don't want to scrub too hard because it definitely will pull off the paint. So while it's wet, I can just kind of do it this way. Okay, we're just kind of doing some fog on the water there. And let's grab some of our light blue, go over the top, clean this off of my brush. Let's grab some phthalo green. white. And pick up a little bit of that turquoise that we mixed. It's a little bit more on the green side. Kind of where it's meeting that yellow, those yellow fog or whatever it is. Mist.
Probably pixie dust.
Pixie dust, yep, there we go. That's a good guess. You been watching Peter Pan again?
Oh, no, I think they're just in season.
Pixie dust is?
Well, yeah, you know, here in the south, central south of United States, there are starting to become large numbers of grasshoppers out because the weather is just perfect and it's end of season and all that stuff they're saying. So I'm imagining it'll be the same thing here with the pixie dust. It's just perfect conditions for them.
Okay.
You asked.
Yeah. Okay.
You don't want to go too deep into this brain.
That's what I'm thinking now. I'm regretting what I asked there. I'm just thinking.
Maybe I should have refrigerated those biscuits.
Tap in some white there. Wipe my brush off and just kind of lightly blend off the edges. Just get a little bright white right here. I'm going to need you to dry this because you can see right here where it's not wanting to stick right there. There's a little spot where it doesn't want to stick, and that's because that paint underneath was drying. It's not going to accept any more layers until the whole thing gets dried.
Okay, and you're using the Stippler right now, right?
Yes, I was.
Somebody just asked a question about using a Stippler to do fog. So.
Yeah. The reason I wasn't using the Stippler until just then was because the paint was wet. But yeah, as long as once it's dry, then we'll be fine. Let me grab we haven't done Stickman in a while. Let me see if I can find our current Stickman. So we've got some old Stickmans. That one's a while back. There's a rooster there. So that was last year. I think that was sometime last year. It's got the pumpkin and the unicorn. So what year that was. I should have dated these. Did I date them? No, I did not. Need to go back and date all these. There's the funkier rooster. There's weird angel wings on that one. This is the girl one. Whoops. Shoot, sorry. I can't seem to find our current one. Mark must have him. Oh, there he is. Is that him? That's him. I found him. All right. That is quite the collection, isn't it? A little scary. Okay, let's put a moon in the sky over here. Perfect. We got just enough space for a moon. Up in the sky over here. Do some yellow. Put a big old moon. There we go. Took me a minute to find Stickman. I think he's done. I don't think we can fit anything else. Unfortunately, we had the sky thing because
I might have to do Stickman 6.0.
Yeah, probably. I showed all the old ones there. All right. So let me draw in our trees, and that way we'll know where we're going to put the rest of our stuff here. There goes Scooter with his nightly coughings. Sorry about that. All right, so the top of it, there's going to be some branches coming out down like this. And the top of this is right in here. And I'm using a water-soluble pencil. I don't think I mentioned that earlier. The tree branch has these kind of vine-like branches that are curving in and out of itself. It's hard to see down here. Yeah, let's use chalk. It's just not want to stick.
So while you're doing that, somebody's asked, is there a substitute for yellow oxide?
Yellow ochre is very similar. So that's a good substitute. All right, so I'm gonna do this like it's a regular tree trunk, right? And then to do the curved part, I'm going to cut part of it off right here and go kind of a curved line down like this, and then up across it. And this one's going to go kind of across like this. So we're gonna kind of pretend this one has already gone across, right? And back up. And then over. And then this one. So there's this tree. You can just kind of draw that one like that, right? Then this one is going to crisscross it. So we're just going to erase that part where it crosses over. It's going to come up over like this, here, and back down around. And then this is its trunk right here. So it's kind of, you know, kind of go diagonal across there like that. And its trunk is coming down like that. Go. And then the top parts here, I'm going to have a couple of branches that are visible here that kind of merge with this tree trunk. There's some greenery that's going to kind of cross over, but this one's pretty large down here. And then as it comes down into the ground, kind of does this triangle shape right here. So you're just kind of curving around here. This part kind of comes down, splits right here. So there's kind of a split in this log. And some twisty shapes that we'll put in there later. But then there's another shape that comes out like that, like an S shape. And then another one. And then another one. And then these all merge up into this tree branch right here, tree trunk right here. Goes really close to the edge there. That may be a little too close. Let me cut that part off a little bit. And then this part coming down here is going to merge right there with that. And there's a split right here where this kind of breaks off and goes up here, just like it did on the other side. And there's a little bit of this tree trunk that comes all the way up like that. So there's a little arm right there. And they crisscross in the middle, and then there's some branches that are going to curl down around and kind of come up from that side, but we'll put those in later. All right, so now I want to switch to a foliage brush. Let's go ahead and get the 3/8 inch one. I'm going to wet it just a little bit. Pick up some of my phthalo green and a little bit of the yellow oxide.
Hey, yeah. So somebody asked about drawing before you're painting. So you do it. Is it easier just so that you get a good perspective before you start putting paint on and get too far in, or why do you draw?
I just do it like this because I find that I can see what I'm painting better with paint, and I can always kind of cover it up. But if you find that too kind of haphazard, you can always, sketch it out on paper first and have a really good sketch. And then once you get to this point, you can transfer the design on with graphite paper. So as long as you have a good sketch, you can always add your details in later with transfer paper and that kind of thing. And I will have a traceable for this, so if anybody doesn't want to draw it, they can just use that traceable. And that's available on Patreon. Those are $1 a month for any of the traceables that you might want. All right, so now I got that dark color in there like I wanted. And let me grab my angle brush again. And grab some of that yellow that we had before, if I can find some. Might have to grab. It's dried. We'll mix it again. Come around the sides of it.
Don't be whispering.
Sorry. Okay.
Don't make me move that microphone.
Oh, I won't. Be good. Let me wipe that out.
So using
That
traceables.
out really well. Yep.
Do you have something in your art chats that talks about that? Like how to...
I have a video called the feather drawing video that I did a couple of years ago that shows how to do traceables, how to draw them, how to transfer your designs from a drawing onto your canvas and use a graphite paper and all that. So very, very little paint on my brush here, and I'm just kind of scrubbing in this yellow. Let's add just a tiny touch of that Quinacridone Magenta, lots of white. There's just a little blush of pink around the edges here. So now that I know kind of where my tree branches are and kind of know how far up I can go, my moon's going to be in this area right in here, in this open spot. Having any buffering tonight? Are we okay?
A little bit,
Just
but not
noticed
too
a little
bad.
skipping on there.
Yeah.
We
Hopefully
go right over the top of the water here.
people can fix it tomorrow.
Yeah, they're coming tomorrow to look at our cable, so hopefully they'll figure out what the issue is.
I have a public service announcement to make that
Okay.
just to remind everything that tomorrow, September 19th, is International Talk Like a Pirate Day. So you don't want to be the one at work showing up and not being
Talking
prepared.
like a pirate. Don't
Exactly.
be prepared with your pirate jokes.
And so we've already had some people chime in from Japan.
It's already Talk
Australia.
Like a
So
Pirate Day
it's
there.
already tomorrow there, so I apologize that we didn't warn you sooner. We'll try to do better. I'm not sure how you say ahoy or arg in Japanese, but there you go.
Okay. No comment. No comment. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to make my little bright spot in the sky where I want my moon to go. Clean that brush out, and I really want to dry off this brush as much as I can because you don't want it wet when you do this. Grab the white, scrub it into my brush really well, wipe most of it off, paper towel, and then pick my spot for my moon right in here. Kind of off center, and I'm just going to scrub and move away from the center pretty quickly. If you keep scrubbing in the same spot, what it'll do is wipe off, it'll just make a big halo because that part in the middle will start drying, then you'll end up with a big white, a big blue hole in the middle of your area that you're trying to make your halo. So I'm gonna tap in and let that set. All right, let's go ahead and put in our tree, our foliage. All right, so I already kind of got that ready in my brush here. Earlier I mixed up some phthalo green and yellow oxide and some of this white that's in this part of the sky. So we're going to start with that really light because it's almost disappearing into our background right here in the brightest area close to the moon. And I'm just tapping to get some of the edges to be rough. We want kind of fuzzy edges. So I'm going to grab some of this burnt umber and the phthalo green and do some dark area because we have a whole area here that's not dark enough yet. It's all about contrast. If you don't have that contrast, you won't have any depth. So we need to put that dark in there. This area is going to be part of our tree here, so I'll just kind of draw that in so we don't lose that. And then grab some more of that light color. And then over here, it's going to be the same thing. We're going to have some tree coming out like this. And I'm just kind of tapping back and forth so that the edge here is sort of coming in and out, creating kind of a random space, random shapes there. And then grab some of that darker color for in here. Not really dark. Right in here. Grab some of the cadmium yellow light and some of my phthalo green. This will make a really bright green. That might be a little bit too bright, so let's use a little bit of the yellow oxide to tone it down. Still want it fairly light, but not quite that vivid. Grab some white. There we go. So this is similar to this first color that we put on, but it's not, it's a little bit brighter, a little bit more vivid. I'm going to tap in just a little bit over the top. My dark areas. Keep this layer very light. And we're doing the parts that are facing our light source, right? So they're going to get light all around here. These areas of the tree trunk that are closest to the moon are going to be brightest, and then the areas back here are going to be darker. So it's kind of that basic light source. Go. And then down here is actually a little bit of kind of a reddish color, like the sky color that we mixed over here. This color, that kind of pink glow. So I'm going to grab some of that quinacridone, add that white to this green, and just put a little bit of it down here, just down here where it's close to the water. It's going to have a little bit of this color reflecting off right there. That's going to make that kind of fog look like it's kind of coming up on our trees. There a little bit. I might even put a little bit up here. right, then I'm going to go back in and just do really dark brown, green, and ultramarine. That'll make us a black. Ultramarine and burnt umber make black. And then when we add it to our green, it'll make this really dark color, even darker than the color that we already had down there. And we're just going to add a little bit of that, because I notice it's not quite dark enough in our dark areas over here. Just adding a little touch of it real close to our tree trunk there. Okay, very good, because we want a good contrast between the tree trunk and our bushes, because this area is going to be light on our tree trunk. So if it's too light in the bushes right up next to our tree trunk, then we won't see any contrast when we put our highlights on our tree. So we need it a little bit darker than we had it there. That's why I'm doing that. Okay, I'm gonna wipe that off, and I'm gonna go ahead and put in just a little bit more of that lighter color back in a couple places here. Just because okay, there we go. Good with that. Let's put some up here. Add some white to our green here. Tap in some foliage behind our trees, our tree trunks. Let's grab some of that darker color, tap some of that in. I'm gonna grab some of that yellow green. Do some of that up here.
I'm sad you're having to paint while I'm enjoying all the pirate puns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Am I missing out?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's okay. You know how much I like puns, so I'm good. I was being sarcastic there. In case you wondered. Okay.
I was being sarcastic too.
Good team. All right, so that's good. Let's go ahead and put in our branches now. We've got this dry enough, probably. We can put in our moon too. Let's go ahead and put that first layer in on our moon. I'm going to use a round brush. This is the number 4 round of the VelvetTouch line. Just the tiniest bit of yellow. Little bit. Mostly white. And if you want to, you can trace this out, use like a lid or something to trace out the outline of it. I'm going to wing it and hope for the best here. Just see how it goes.
Got a painting question, believe it or not.
Okay.
I don't know what's wrong with this person, but being silly. They would like to know, do acrylic paints separate in the tube as they get old?
They can. It depends on the fluid acrylics, especially the craft acrylics definitely do. Heavy body acrylics should not. If they are, then they're probably not good to use. heavy body acrylics tend to get clumpy as they age. And okay, so I'm going to pretend that this is going all the way around here, so I'm getting a good circle, because this is looking a little oddly shaped here. There we go. Oh, it's so pretty. So we'll let that dry completely, and then we'll do some more of a halo around it with some other colors, but it's a good start. And let's move to this brush. This is a little bit smaller. This is a 1/4 inch angle. I'm gonna go ahead and use that burnt umber and grab some ultramarine and mix up a black. These two colors. Maybe go a little bit more on the burnt umber side so that it's kind of got a brownish, it's leaning more towards the brown side. And put that in. Look for my darkest areas on our tree trunk if I don't have them painted in already. And this one, I kind of lost my drawing, didn't I? It actually kind of comes more like that. And then we'll just kind of continue this branch. Since these are overlapping, we can go ahead and just do this one first, right? And then it's going to kind of lap under here. It's going to kind of narrow and come out right here. Like that. And this part is right in here. So we're going over the top now of our greenery that we did. So that'll create some distance, some perspective, all this overlapping here that we're going to do. Automatically pushes that back and makes it look like there's things going on back here in the distance.
What kind of things?
I don't know. Tree things.
Tree things.
These trees are, I don't even want to say what they're doing. They're up to no good.
It's like they're holding hands.
Yes, they're holding hands. That's a good way of putting it.
By the moonlight.
I know, it's so romantic.
I know.
Who knew trees could be romantic? Okay. Right, I think this one, let me see. Let me go ahead and start this one over here and see. It's going to come like this and come down right about here.
So, we had a question asking about beginner painters.
Yes.
And learning how to mix paints.
Yes.
So is that something that just takes time and practice, and about how long, or is it relatively easy to do? Like, if you want to get the colors that you're getting, how long do you think it takes to know, okay, it's a tad of this and a bit of that? And
a lot of it is experience. A lot of it you can kind of figure out by just like what I did with this background sky. I put the background on, and then I decided that the teal was a little bit too kind of blue, not the green that I wanted. So you can kind of compare what you're going for against your reference photo. I think it's really important, if you're going for accurate colors, to have good reference photos that have really good contrast, good. I think contrast is almost better, or knowing, seeing your values. That's what I mean. Your values, knowing values, and that kind of thing is almost more important than color. So I think a lot of times it's not the colors necessarily that people are getting wrong, but it's the values in the colors. They're not going bright enough, or they're not going dark enough. They may tend to do green. They might do a green that's just green straight out of the bottle. One of the easiest things that you can do when you're painting landscapes and things especially, is to take like the opposite color on the color wheel. So in this case, I used like that burnt, like a burnt umber. It's got a little bit of a reddish browns. Brown is just a neutralizing color anyways. But like I could have used red with the green, and that would neutralize the green, make it less like a circus color, like Ginger Cook likes to say. The colors straight out of the tube, unless they're a pre-mixed color, your basic colors like these ones that I'm using, Phthalo Blue, Phthalo Green, I hardly ever will use them straight out of the bottle, straight onto the canvas, because those tend to be too bright. But a lot of times it's just like you can make yourself color charts, and I do whole notebooks where I'll just play with the colors that I have and kind of see how they mix and that kind of thing. There's lots of good books about it. One of the books in my Amazon store is about color mixing. It's a good book. It's actually got like color recipes for color mixing. So, and then artists tend to, once they kind of know their colors and figure out the colors that they like to use, they tend to use those same colors, So I have like a basic palette that I like to use, and I pretty much just stick to that. Every now and then I'll add another color if I can't mix the color that I'm looking for, but for the most part I sort of stick to my basics that I already know, that I know how to mix, and like the colors that I can make from them. So, but yeah, I think getting yourself a practice notebook, just a sketchbook of some sort that you can paint in. I use a mixed media, Canson or Strathmore Visual Journal mixed media notebooks, and just use those to do. Well, if I had one handy I would show you, but I don't. And then I do have a video about color mixing, about how to create yourself a chart. So if you are interested in that, you can look that up. It's on YouTube also. So, okay, so this is this tree right here. Kind of does this sort of wiggly thing right here. It's actually kind of thicker here than it's supposed to be, but this is actually going to be part of this tree, so it's not going to make a difference. So this one is going to come up from here. This is this side of it, so it's going to come from there, come up, round over the top like that. And then just going to cross over in front right here and do this little thing like that. It's going to be thickest right here in the middle. It looks really funky right now, but it'll make more sense once you get your shadows in, or your highlights in, I mean. And I might decide I need to exaggerate that a little bit more. And then this one is going to have a branch that comes up over the top right here and curve down around right here. I'm going to add a little bit of water to my paint because it's getting a little sticky. And just use the edge of my brush to do some faint lines here, trailing down. There's another one right here, like that. And then there's some in here. All right, and let's go ahead and use some of this dark color down here since the green is a little bit lighter than the dark shadows that I want in my tree trunk. I am out of burnt umber. I think we're about on track for our a little over an hour. I figured the highlights will go really fast. This is the hardest part, is just to kind of get the drawing in right. And if you wanted to use black, you could use it in these dark areas if you don't want to mix your own. That is perfectly fine. I thought it might be pretty too that you could do like instead of doing summery colors, you could do kind of fall colors. You could have your bushes be, you know, fall colors, oranges and reds, that kind of thing, if you wanted to make this more of a fall landscape. Or you could even do like a series of these where you have the different summer, you know, summer, autumn, winter. I've thought I might end up doing that, so, but
interesting.
yeah, I thought that would be kind of cool. Do a whole series of these little mini canvases of the seasons. Okay. There we go. All right, so that's our base. Clean this out. And I'm just going to mix a few colors to use as our highlights. So I'm going to use some yellow oxide. And I'm going to use some of that burnt sienna. Some unbleached titanium. It'll be kind of the area right in here around our sun, our moon, I mean. I'm going to use some burnt umber with the unbleached titanium. And then there's a lot of green in here, so I'm going to go ahead and use some of the green with this burnt umber. Use that for kind of a gray-green, sort of a mossy bark color. And then there's some even brighter green areas. Maybe use that. Still got a little bit of burnt umber in my brush. I'll use some of that unbleached titanium. I need to spray my palette. Paints are getting sticky. Okay, that's a good color. Clean out my brush. And I'm using the 1/4" angle here. I'm just going to stick with this for a little bit. And I'm going to mix up a little bit more of the gray that we used for our dark areas of our tree trunk. So the blue and burnt umber. Use some of that unbleached titanium to make gray. This will be kind of our main color for most of the tree trunk highlights. And a little bit of white over here for some extra bright areas. All right, let me wipe most of that off my brush, and I'm going to start in here. And if you need to, what you can do is kind of chalk in where your lines are going. So you can kind of chalk in there and right here. This is actually kind of more like that. This one's coming down like that. See, now you can kind of see the twisty part a little bit better. And then this is coming down over the top there. And there is a highlight on that. There, this branch is coming down like this. There is a split in this. This comes down like that. And deep split right here. Okay, so there's our kind of where our tree lines are going. I'm going to start in here and just going to lightly go up next to that split, but not right to it, and start highlighting lightly, kind of skipping around on our tree, and maybe pick up a different color. Wipe it off if you get it on there and it just seems too dark or too like it's covering too much. You can kind of wipe it off. I want it to just kind of catch the texture, and we're dry brushing here. This sort of bark. Grab a little bit of green. Don't worry about our dark areas. I mean, you're going to kind of probably cover up more of this dark than we want to, but we can go back in and we will glaze back in our shadows in here over the top of this. So we just want to get this texture in right up next to our dark areas. And then we will glaze our shadows back on. Use a little bit of the Unbleached Titanium on the tip of the brush. A little bit of our gray, maybe a little bit more of that Ultramarine Blue, so it's got a little bit more blue hint to it. Actually, let's do a little bit of that Phthalo Blue, kind of that turquoisey color. Phthalo Blue and Phthalo Green. We use a little bit of the turquoise from our sky. A little bit of white. There we go. Leaving just a little bit of the sky colors or the dark color right along that edge in some places if I need to. What?
They would like to know, when you say texture, are you talking about texture of the canvas or texture of the bark?
Both, yeah. It's...
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Let's grab some green here. We're going to use the canvas texture to indicate that bark, if that makes sense. So we're kind of making that canvas texture work for us because it makes the process of making this look like bark a little bit easier because it is, kind of rough. So if we do this light enough, it kind of just skims that surface of the canvas and causes this kind of natural textured look to happen. Grab some yellow oxide here. A little yellow oxide and white, sort of that moon glow color. I've still got these greens and things on my brush, so it's not completely clean. We'll put that right there. Really bright right here. This area is going to be really bright. It's catching that all that light from that moon hitting it. But just right along that top edge. You're really not going down too far down in here. This is going up this way, so we're just going to kind of use our tree to indicate where we want these highlights to go. This kind of yellow oxide color seems to be working pretty well. It's kind of warm. It's got a little bit of that green in it. Go ahead and grab some of that green color. That green, gray, brown color that we mixed up. We'll use some of that. Just kind of scrubbing back and forth quickly. And if you have an area like right here, you know, it seems like it's too bright, we can always go back over with our dark color. So you don't have to get it right the first time. You can always adjust. Alright, I'm just going to kind of do some random lines down here to sort of indicate those roots going down into the ground. Then we're going to do some grasses over the top to sort of cement them into the ground, make them look like they're attached. Let's grab some of our moon glow color. This is the moon color that we mixed. I'm going to wash that off my brush and use it right here very lightly. Just a couple places. Closest to the moon. Using very little paint on my brush so I can kind of control where it's going here. If I put down too much too fast, it'll just kind of look like solid lines happening. Let's put a little highlight on our branches there. Okay, let's switch to our smaller round brush now. I'm going to use my burnt umber. Wet that down so I can pull it to a point. And actually I'm going to go ahead and use the ultramarine to mix a gray, black. There we go. Alright, you need to add enough water when you're using a liner brush in order for that paint to kind of flow. If you don't add enough, I'm going to go ahead and use a little bit of glazing liquid, that'll help. If you don't add enough, it just won't flow. It'll kind of stick to your brush. So it'll make it a little bit more difficult to get your lines in. So I'm going to go ahead and go over the top of my tree now that I have some of these highlights in. And start laying in some smaller branches where I want them to be. Just trailing down here, and you want them to get smaller, obviously at the tip. If this part stresses you out, you can leave this out and just do the tree trunks. You don't have to do these extra little vines. You could use a liner brush if you need a little bit more control. This is kind of a little bit big for these thin lines here I'm trying to get. So coming up over. Just doing wiggly lines here. These are very vine-like almost branches. There we go. And then there's some more up here that we haven't done yet. Go. Okay, let's add our highlights to this. Let's grab our kind of white gray color. Add some highlights to the side that is facing the moon. I'm going to go back to this brush, the smaller angle brush. We're going to put in our shadows back in. So let's grab our darkest brown here. Blue and ultramarine. Whoops, did not want white in there. Take that out. Clean that out. Then I'm going to just kind of run the tip through and turn it straight down and kind of just run the tip across and then push it flat so that I'm getting the color mostly on the tip of the brush. So give me a little bit more control, and I'm going to go in here and darken back up our shadow areas of our tree. Anywhere where they're overlapping, where you kind of can't tell where one starts and the other stops, we can kind of put in a little bit of this shadow right there. Kind of re-emphasize those crevices. Go over any areas that where you got a little too much of our highlight color. Can kind of soften it up, make it a little bit more subtle, make a little bit more sense to some of our shadows. Make sure that we're going between our branches here so that we can kind of see where they start and stop there. I'm going to put some more highlights back on there now that I've got that dark enough you can see them. There we go. Alright, let's use our scrubber here, Deerfoot Stippler, and some of our yellow Quinacridone mixture. Wipe that off. A little bit of white in there. Soften it up. Wipe most of it off, and I mean most of it, like really scrub that out. Just want a very light dusting here. I'm going to go over the top of my moon. This will just give it more of a halo effect. If it's not showing up enough, you can grab a little bit more white. There we go. Kind of make it look a little bit more fuzzy, and then we can also use it on more of our sky down here if we need to, but I think we're good on that. I don't think we need to. I'm going to grab a little bit more of the really bright white and do a little bit more just right in here of my moon. Wipe my brush off and just kind of gently put that in there. Use my cloth here and just kind of tap off if I get too much. There we go. And I'm going to grab some white and just kind of emphasize a little bit more my outline of my moon right there. And use my stippler. We'll go over our greenery. We'll be done. We just need to kind of set in our greens down here. So we got some of the phthalo green and some yellow oxide to start with. We'll just kind of put in some moss color, kind of come up between our tree. Can kind of pull some fern-like ones if I kind of do them in lines. Kind of sort of set them all the way up here, kind of coming up, going over the top of our tree in the corners.
Will there be any splattering?
Oh, I need to do the stars. I'm glad you said that. There are some stars in the sky. But I was just going to put those in individually since there's so few.
Okay.
Need to wait for that though, because my weight. And just dab in. I just figured it'd be easier to control kind of where they go this way too. Since there's so much tree there. Don't want the stars on top of the tree. And if you want these perfect dots, you could use a little stippler tool or a toothpick or something like that to give you perfectly round little dots. Just kind of doing some bigger than others, some smaller. Let's use this brush with our yellow. Gonna make some ferns. Yellow and phthalo green. Sort of some fern shapes there. Kind of doing little lines that are sort of connected. The ferns kind of grow like they have a central line. They kind of are narrow at the tip and then they widen out a little at the base. They have their leaves that kind of grow on either side, sort of like fingers coming out. Do that. Use a little bit of that brown in there. Yellow, phthalo green, little bit of yellow, white, a little bit of brown. That might be too bright. Go a little bit darker than that. There we go. There's some sort of like ivy, so I'm just going to do little dabs of lighter colored paint on top of that wood. It'll kind of look like ivy if I kind of clump them together in little small sections going up the sides. There. You could do little toadstools, you could do all kinds of fun stuff, so looking forward to seeing what you guys decide to do with yours. These are really fun. Do just a little bit more highlighting on our leaves up here, and we will be done. Just a little bit on the ones that are kind of peeking closest to the moon there. Maybe catching some of that light.
So, for everybody who's new to the channel, welcome. We're almost done.
Yeah.
But seriously, thanks for joining us tonight. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and the thumbs up. And you can check out all of Angela's videos on her channel, from beginner, intermediate, advanced, children's series, something for everybody on there. And down below, if you click the show more, it'll give you the list of all of the materials that you used tonight, links to the Amazon store to buy some painting supplies, she has a store there.
Affiliate store. Make a little bit of money if you purchase your supplies on there through our link.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
And yeah, so if you're buying from Amazon on there, to get some paint supplies, do it from there, and it supports the channel indirectly, so that's good. Same thing for brushes, the brush guys.
I'm using some yellow oxide here and green to kind of put highlights. Go over the top of these lighter areas, just washing some color on it. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. And the brush guys link is down there too, and you get 5% off using the code Angela Fine Art, and she has a list of recommended brushes. I think pretty much all the ones that she used tonight and several more. Then of course the links to social media. She's got a couple of Facebook groups, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest.
All that good stuff. Got burnt umber now.
And then the last but not least, the Patreon, which she mentioned earlier about the traceables for $1 a month for all the traceables that you...
Got our bonus video coming up this Sunday.
Right.
For our $5 folks. $5 and above.
Right. So the $5 folks get the video and...
They get reference photos, so they'll have a high resolution photo of tonight's finished painting to use as a reference while they paint. And also traceables, and then the link for the bonus videos once a month. But there's also a whole list of bonus videos. I forgot to do the highlight on the back side here, so I'm going to just put a little bit of that on the back side of these. There's just a little bit of cast light that's happening back here too. What was I saying? Oh, yeah, there's several bonus videos on there already, so you get the links to all of the old videos as well as the new.
Oh, nice.
One new one every month, so it's pretty good. It's a pretty good deal. We're working on a female portrait this month, so.
And then the $10 level gets you all that plus access to a private Facebook group where she does additional tutorials in there.
Takes polls for new videos and that kind of thing.
And things like that, so. Different ways to support the channel and also get a little bit extra too.
Yeah.
And then of course we're here almost every Tuesday and Saturday live on YouTube, and the videos will post permanently shortly after we end.
Yes.
So if you missed the beginning of this, you can, after we're done streaming, probably within 20-30 minutes or so, it should render.
This is Unbleached Titanium.
And then be there. So you can enjoy it anytime.
Yes.
So hello to everybody in the future.
Okay, I think that's good. We're going to call it a quits there. Hope you enjoyed it. Very magical painting tonight. It's a little bit shiny there. Sorry.
Yeah, people liked it, and they said that it looks like a book cover. And
yeah, I could see it on a book cover for sure. Kind of a fairy tale looking type book. For sure. You know how much I like fairy tales. So.
Oh, yeah.
One of my favorite genres. Fantasy. All right, I'm going to add just one more. I'm just seeing a little bit, just really bright right here. A little bit more of that moon color right there. The colors will dry a little bit darker, as I said before. So, once you kind of get your first layers on there, you may find that you need to just kind of go back in and bump up that color. I went through while he was talking and added a little bit of the burnt umber in some places over the top of some of my highlight areas, just to kind of add more texture even to my tree bark. You can kind of see how it looks there. It's got those greens, a little bit of yellows, got some blues in the shadows, all kinds of colors going on in there.
So real quick to clarify, because of a question in chat. So the $1 is per month, and that's for this traceable and all the other traceables going back to February 2017.
Right.
For those videos, and it's as many downloads as you want. So they're not $1 a piece. It's $1 to access to all the traceables.
Right. Yes, it's unlimited downloads for the month that you're active in there. So you can download as many as you want and then cancel anytime. And keep your downloads. So All right, I'm going to call that good. Thanks, guys, for watching tonight. Hope you enjoyed it. Give it a thumbs up, all that good stuff, like Mark already said, probably. And I'm going to sign it with my Pigma pen here. And call it a night. Let's go get some dinner. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.